Hello everyone, I am Dr. Monish Upadhyay. I'll be taking a part of the subject manufacturing processes. I'll be taking module 3 and module 4 of the particular subject or course. Okay, and the subject code for the course is PCME, that is Professional Course of Mechanical Engineering 302. This is the lecture 1 of module 3 and module 4, and in module 3 and module 4 we will be learning about the different details and aspects of manufacturing processes like machining, that is a subtractive manufacturing process, and joining process, that is welding, brazing, soldering, adhesive joining processes, etc. Okay, now to start with, let us see the breakup of the syllabus of module 3 and module 4. As I have already told that I'll be dealing with machining, or rather we together will be dealing with machining, that is subtractive manufacturing process, and joining processes, in which there is welding, brazing and soldering, and different adhesive bonding processes are involved. Okay, now for this course I will recommend you some books. I think it will be preferable if you refer to the following books which are given over here. The first one is Manufacturing Engineering and Technology by Saurabh Kalpakjian and Stephen R. Schmid, and Machining and Machine Tools by Professor A.B. Chattopadhyay of IIT Kharagpur. I will generally be referring to this book as the principal textbook for the course of machining, and for welding sciences sometimes I will be referring to this, and there is another book of Ghosh and Malik, I will be referring to that also. Okay. Now before we start, we must have to answer a very potent question, like what is manufacturing. Okay, so production or manufacturing can be simply defined as a value addition process, okay, by which raw material of low quality, having lower value, having inadequate material properties, irregular or poor shape, dimension, surface finish, when that is converted into products having higher output value, having better shape, better utilization altogether, better shape, better size, better surface finish, generally better surface finish, then the associated process which converts this input of raw material into output of high quality product is known as a manufacturing process. Thus manufacturing is a value addition process. As you may see here, this lump of steel which is shown over here is the input to the process. The process is a value addition process or the manufacturing process. This lump of steel is being converted into this high utility product, that is a bolt. Okay, so the conversion of this low quality lump of steel to a high quality product having different threads of different dimension, of different properties, we may say that. Okay, where it can be used for a particular product or for a particular purpose of joining two different parts, is actually the output of the bolt which is being prepared. So we can see that this under this manufacturing process, this lump of steel of low quality is being converted into bolt of a high quality product. Okay, this bolt, if we like the term, the input output of the raw material and the finished products actually differ with the different manufacturing process or the process which we are taking, or the output product which we will be getting. Okay, for this process, if we consider here, the lump of steel was taken as a raw material. From there we got this bolt. Okay, now this bolt will be used in some other processes in order to join the join different materials, suppose. So there, this bolt will be used as a raw material. In that, a manufacturing process can be an assembly operation. Okay, in that assembly operation, this bolt will be used to temporarily joint two materials. In that thing, this bolt will act as a raw material and the output product will be somewhat else. Okay, for example, suppose log of wood. Okay, when we take a log of wood and convert it to a particular, suppose, or plywood, for example, plywood. Okay, different sheets of wood material are used to make a plywood. That is a manufacturing process in order to make that plywood, and after that, that plywood is again used for any other manufacturing process to be made product of higher utility. For example, the chairs and bench on which we sit in our classroom is generally employs use of that plywood. Okay, so for this purpose, this plywood can be treated in one way as an high quality material or high quality output, and in some other manufacturing operation it can be treated as raw material or low quality input. Okay, this value addition process generally is the manufacturing process involved in conversion of input to output. Now, this production or manufacturing engineering generally covers two main domains. Okay, first one is production or manufacturing processes, which deals with casting, forming, extrusion, whatever it may be. Okay, then production management. Here we learn about the different optimization or enhancement of any production by employing proper management techniques. Okay, we will be primarily dealing with the point number A, that is production or manufacturing process. Okay, and now this manufacturing process, this refers to science and technology of manufacturing products effectively, efficiently, economically, and in an environmental friendly manner. Now here, application of any existing manufacturing process and systems may be involved. Proper selection of input materials, tool, machines and environments. Improvement of the existing materials and processes, that may also come under manufacturing process. Then development of new materials, suppose carbon nanotubes, okay, which are used in high quality applications. Then development of new system which generally serves the purpose of being economical and environmental friendly. And then process and techniques with combination of all of these things, they may come under the terminology which is considered as manufacturing processes. In this subject, or in this module, we'll be, or in this subject rather, in this subject we'll be covering each and every aspect of the points which are being listed over here. Okay, now all such manufacturing processes, systems, techniques have to be technologically acceptable, okay, technically feasible, economically viable and eco-friendly. Now there is a very interesting, or the shifting of the manufacturing sector is being taken place, like is taking place, if you have heard a term known as sustainable manufacturing. This terms actually refers to utilization of the resources in such a manner that we actually don't severely harm the coming, like the well-being of the coming generation. That it may be put up like this. Okay, we are using something, it shouldn't be that rash, or the exploitation of the resources shouldn't be that rash, or shouldn't be that illogical, that the future generation will severely get affected by this. That is the total basic of sustainable development. Now this the coming on to the broad classification of engineering manufacturing process. Now it can be like, it is extremely difficult to tell the exact number of various manufacturing processes existing. Like there are lots and lots of manufacturing processes, and are being practiced presently because a spectacularly large number of processes have been developed till now, and the number is still increasing exponentially with the growing demands and rapid progress in science and technology. Each and every day you will find new research articles discussing about novel techniques which are being invented, which are being discovered, which have a potential to actually come into existence and actually change the systems which we have been using till now. However, all such manufacturing processes can be broadly classified into four major groups. First one is shaping or forming, then joining process, material removal process or subtractive manufacturing process, that is machining. Then comes regenerative manufacturing or additive manufacturing process. Okay. In shaping or forming, manufacturing a solid product of definite size and shape from a given material is taken into consideration. The given material is possible to be in three different states. It can be in solid state, where we employ forging, rolling, extrusion, drawing, etc. The material can be in liquid or semi-liquid stage. There we can use casting. I hope all of you have done this casting process in your engineering workshop. Okay. Then injection molding, it may be performed when the material is in liquid or semi-liquid state in shaping and forming. The material may be in powdered form. There we use a term or a process known as powder metallurgy process. Now coming on to the joining manufacturing process, I think you are accustomed to the term welding, adhesive joining, brazing, soldering. We will be going through this all of this in the next module. Then material removal process. This is the consideration for this module. This also known as subtractive manufacturing process, where we generally take away material or remove material from the workpiece in order to get or in order to convert low quality raw material into high quality products. The fourth term is regenerative manufacturing or additive manufacturing. You will be learning about this in the later semesters. These are relatively newer as well as advanced manufacturing processes are considered over here. There is like production of solid products in layer by layer from raw material in different form. You can say in a nutshell, additive manufacturing is 3D manufacturing. Okay. 3D printing may be considered here. Here in liquid form, stereolithography is performed. Now stereolithography is a process by which a uniquely designed 3D printing machine called a stereolithograph converts liquid plastic material into solid object. Then there is powder. If the raw material is in powder form, then we may use selective sintering method. Now selective sintering method is an additive manufacturing technique that uses laser as the power source to sinter powdered material. A deposition of powder material in the form of the the material which we or the product which we are aiming to make is taken, and then laser is brought like through laser irradiation. We get the final product, and as the powder melts and fuses with the subsequent layers. Then the raw material may be in sheet metal form, that is laminated object manufacturing. It is a lesser known manufacturing technique or lesser adopted manufacturing technique, where an object is created by successively layering sheets to build up a stack. Okay. After the stack has been made, a laser beam or electron beam or plasma beam is made to like come to contact with the, not contact actually, it is made to fall on the surface of the stack, and with proper movement we get the final product as we are aiming for. Okay. Then the raw material the raw material may be in form of wire, that is fuse deposition modeling. It is one of the most widely used additive manufacturing process for fabricating prototypes and functional parts in common engineering plastic. Okay. The process is based on there is a nozzle. Through that nozzle uh, there are 3D movements, and through that nozzle liquefied plastic filaments gets deposited as per the engineering drawing which has been fed to the system. As per the drawing fed to the system, or the design fed to the system, 3D movement takes place, and and we get fuse deposition modeling. Okay. Now coming on to machining. This is what we are going to study, the science of material removal in this module. Initially we need to understand about the purpose, the definition and importance of the process. Talking about the purpose of the process, most of the engineering components such as gears, bearing, clutches, tools, screws, nuts, etc. need dimensional and form accuracy, and generally a good surface finish for serving their purpose. Okay. Casting, forging, etc. generally cannot provide the desired accuracy and finish. For that, such performed parts are made using casting. After that process, we generally require removal of material from the product which has been obtained by the primary manufacturing processes, and to make it of high utility. After casting process, generally we give some allowances. You might know that, you have read about it, or you have performed experiments of casting in first year. Okay. We give machining allowances, that is given in order to get the final dimension or the final finish of the product using the subtractive manufacturing process. Okay. Now machining to high accuracy and finishing essentially enables a product to fulfill its functional requirement, improve its performance and prolong its service. How can it improve its performance? If proper machining has been done, suppose there are two parts in fitting shop. What you have done, there are two parts which should fit each other exactly. Okay. If you don't do it properly, then conditions may arise that after some time the product may fail easily. So in order to improve its performance, we generally perform machining. Then to prolong its surfaces, for example, there is a product where the edge of the product is very sharp, and we know that whenever the edge of any product is very sharp, it is prone to wear and tear. As the stress concentration at the edge, at the sharp edge increases, generally wear and tear occurs very easily in that sharp edges. So we generally go for chamfering operation in order to save the edges. Now coming on to the definition of machining. Machining is an essential process of finishing by which jobs are produced to the desired dimensions and surface finish by gradually removing the excess material from the performed blank in form of chips with the help of cutting tools, moved past the work surface. What is machining? There is a tool which is brought in contact with the workpiece, and with the relative interaction between these two, there should be proper feed and cutting velocity given to the job and workpiece, and it may arise that this has motion, both workpiece and tool has motion, or either of the two has motion. But the thing is that whenever any of the two is having any motion, with the relative interaction, material removal occurs from the work surface, provided the tool is generally harder than the work surface. The material which is removed from the work surface, we get it in form of chips. Okay, so this is the basic process of machining. We will be learning more about it in this class as well as in further classes. Okay. Now, importance of machining. A variety of work materials can be processed with proper work tool combination, obviously. Variety of part shapes and special geometry features possible. Screw threads can be made, accurate round holes can be made, very straight edges and surfaces can be prepared. Then good dimension accuracy and surface finish. Basically, whatever we have learned about conversion of raw material to final output product, everything can be considered under the importance of machining process. Now, in order to understand the process better, let us see an example. Now, this is a machining process which is going to start. This is the chuck, this is the tool post, this is the cutting tool, and this is the workpiece. The workpiece is held in a 3-jaw chuck. Okay, this is a square tool post, I believe. Let us see the machining operation. Now see, with the relative interaction between this tool and this workpiece, both the tool and the workpiece are having motion. With the relative interaction, there is facing operation which is being taking place. The facing operation generally concentrate on reducing the length of the workpiece. Now this is the reducing diameter known as turning operation. Now as the interaction between cutting tool and workpiece is taking place, chips are being formed and material is being removed. Like material is getting removed in form of chips. See, these powdery forms are the chips which are being obtained from the work material. This is the cleaning process which the operator is performing. Now the job is removed from the chuck and being loaded to other machining process. Now this is a drill machine where an end milling cutter is used in order to make patterns on the work surface. Now, patterns have been generated on the work surface using a tool loaded on a milling machine. This can also be considered as a vertical drilling machine, or this can also be considered as a vertical milling machine. Now the workpiece again is being loaded onto the lathe, the chuck, and then further machining operations are being carried out. A chamfering operation has been performed in order to save the edges. Now the workpiece has been reversed. Facing operation is taking place. Let us move further. Good. See, this is the final product. See, from a cylindrical workpiece, we have obtained a product something like this, which I think will serve as, there was a, yeah, this is the thread cutting operation which is being performed. Like the product is, I think, is a knob which can be attached to any doorway, so that proper holding of the door is possible. So we can see that conversion of raw material of lower quality into output of higher quality or product of higher quality which has taken place. Now, one thing we need to learn about is the difference between machine tool and cutting tool. Actually, we will be using these two terms quite often during our lecture series. So, what is the difference between a machine tool and cutting tool? This is a machine tool. This lathe is a machine tool, and these are cutting tool. What is machine tool? Basically, machines that are used to perform cutting, shaping, or forming tasks. Cutting tools are fitted into the machines as an end effector, whereas cutting tools are piece of equipments designed to perform tasks like turning, milling, grooving, hole making, facing, boring, honing, etc., whatever it may be. Okay. For example, as we have seen here in the video, the lathe is the machine tool, whereas this tool is the cutting tool. This is a single point cutting tool. Okay, I think now this we'll be very clear about these two terms. Now coming on to single point and multi-point cutting tools. In this video we have seen that the first initial operations were being performed, like facing and turning were being performed on a lathe. Okay, on a lathe we were using a cutting tool like this, where it contains a single edge, so it is known as a single point cutting tool. Whereas whenever the patterns were being made onto the workpiece on that drilling machine with the end milling cutter, the end milling cutter was having more than one cutting edges. There is a suppose there is a milling cutter. Here we can see many number of cutting edges which take participation into the work tool interaction. So here cutting happens with the relative interaction of more than one cutting edge, so they are known as multi-point cutting tools. Single point cutting tools generally, the examples are turning tool, shaping tool, planing, slotting tool, boring tool, fly cutters, etc. And multi-point cutting tools are milling cutters, reamer, broach, gear hobbing, then grinding wheel, honing tool, etc. We'll be talking about this later. Okay. Just understand about the difference between a single point cutting tool and a multi-point cutting tool. Now drilling, the drill bit, the twist drill bit, I think you will be knowing that if you have seen a drill bit, it has two cutting edges. So if the differentiation is like single point, double point, a single edged, double edged and multi-edged cutting tool, then the drilling tool will be coming under the second category, that is double edged cutting tool. Otherwise we may simply put it under multi-point or the multi-edged cutting tool section. Okay. Now both single point and multi-point cutters follow same principle of material removal. It is just that the material removal is happening due to interaction of more number of cutting edges, but the science behind the removal of material from the work surface remains exactly similar to that of a single point cutting tool. Now coming on to tool nomenclature. I hope on lathe you have seen a cutting tool being mounted like this. Okay, there the workpiece is like kept like this, in this manner. Suppose suppose this is the workpiece, and whenever this goes in right to left direction or outward to inward direction, material removal occurs. Okay, now this cutting tool, there are names of the different edges and the surfaces of this cutting tool. The naming system is known as tool in hand naming system. This comes from the very simple fact that whenever you are holding a cutting tool in your hand, simply naming that cutting tool by visualizing it is known as tool in hand system. Here, first thing to understand is the principal cutting edge. This orientation is nothing but whenever the tool is rotated like this, we get something of this similar structure. Okay, so both of these are same. Now this cutting edge, the principal cutting edge, due to which the material gets removed, or the material shears off from the work surface, is known as principal cutting edge. This is known as principal cutting edge. The edge adjacent to principal cutting edge is known as auxiliary cutting edge. Let us find it over here. This is the principal cutting edge. Let me again draw the workpiece over here. Okay, suppose this is my workpiece. So we can see that this edge is the main edge which takes part into the cutting action. This is known as my principal cutting edge, and the edge adjacent to principal cutting edge is auxiliary cutting edge. Why it is known as auxiliary cutting edge? During machining, it happens that this edge often comes into contact with the machined surface, the surface which already has been machined. This edge generally comes into contact with the machined surface, and very minute amount of material removal may occur with the interaction of this edge and machined surface. So we term this as auxiliary cutting edge. Okay, now the plane which is with the principal cutting edge, this plane is known as principal flank surface or principal clearance surface. Okay, this is known as it is touching with the principal cutting edge, it is known as principal flank surface or principal clearance surface. Similarly, the plane with auxiliary cutting edge in downward direction is known as auxiliary flank surface or auxiliary clearance surface. Okay, now this plane, the plane which is in contact with both auxiliary edge and principal cutting edge, is known as rake face. We will be discussing about this later. Okay, in the next slide I would say that these clearance surfaces are, if you see it very carefully, these clearance surfaces are provided in order to avoid the relative rubbing between the cutting tool and the workpiece. If I will go to next slide in order to make you understand. Okay, now see, there is a chiseling operation which is being performed. There is the cutting tool. A force may be given in this direction. Let me show you. A force may be given in this direction. Whenever a force is applied in this direction, it interferes with the work surface and some amount of material gets removed. I think you have performed chiseling operation during the pattern making experiment in your college. I think here there you have seen that whenever a chisel is placed on a wood surface and you apply force using a mallet, then flakes of your wood comes out from the work surface. These are nothing but the chips. Okay, now let us understand about the rake angle and clearance angle. But before that, what are the definition? Let us go through the definitions of rake angle and clearance angle. Okay, now coming on to rake angle, this is the angle of inclination of rake surface from reference plane. Which is the reference plane? This is the reference plane. See, this line over here is your reference plane. Okay, the angle between the rake surface, this is the rake surface over here, this is the rake surface, angle between reference plane and rake angle, rake face is known as your rake angle. And what about clearance angle? Clearance angle is the angle of inclination of clearance or flank surface from the finished surface. As material has been removed from this part, this is the, like, this should have been the material, like this should have been the workpiece. This amount of material has already been removed. Okay, so what we got here, this phase is the machine phase. Material has already been removed from this. Clearance is provided onto a cutting tool in order to avoid the rubbing between the machined surface and the clearance phase or the cutting tool. Okay, if there is any problem with this, we will discuss it in details in the classes which will be provided. Then this is the turning diagram. Here we may locate, this is the rake face, and with the reference plane the angle is known as your rake angle, and the flank, this is the clearance face, and the angle between the clearance phase and the velocity vector is your alpha or your clearance angle. Now coming on to the orientation of rake angle. Now it can be seen that there are three different orientation of rake angle. In common terms or in simpler terms, rake face is the face on which the chip flows. It is very simply forwarded as, whenever machining chips are being generated, it flows over a surface. If this is my cutting tool, if this is my principal cutting edge, okay, whenever the chip flows over a surface, it is termed as my rake face. Now according to the orientation of the rake surface, we generally have three different position or three different classification of the rake face or rake angle. The first one is positive rake. Here you can see it is below the reference plane. The second one is zero rake, which is coinciding with the reference plane. The third one is your negative rake angle, negative gamma, which is above the reference plane. Now positive rake, it helps to reduce cutting forces and thus cutting power requirement. Then negative rake is used to increase edge strength and life of the tool, and zero rake is used to simplify design and manufacture of the form of the tool. Now where they are used? Now before that, let us consider you are cycling on a surface, on a road. If the road is plain, then the effort required, like there are three conditions, let there be three conditions. First one is you are cycling on a downhill road, you are cycling on a downhill road, you are cycling on a very like plain road which is not having any inclination, and then you are cycling on a uphill road, you are going uphill. Okay, so that easily can be compared with the flowing of chips. These chips over here are nothing but your cycle or you riding your bicycle. Whenever positive rake is being considered, then you are generally traveling on a downhill road where the opposing forces are very less. Then whenever zero rake is considered, it is just like you are traveling on a smooth inclination less road. Then in negative rake, you are generally going on a uphill road or you are going uphill where maximum amount of force is required also, or maximum amount of effort is required. Now it is very easy to understand why I have said that positive rake angle helps to reduce cutting forces, as the opposing forces in order to travel downhill is very less, so lesser cutting forces are associated with positive rake. Zero rake is considered to be where I am not very sure about the work tool combination. Okay, the negative rake is considered or is taken place where we require the tool to have higher strength. Why it will have higher strength? Let us see an example. Suppose this is the width of the tool of positive rake and this is the width of the tool having negative rake. Suppose, okay, if these two are parallel, you may see that the width of the tool in negative rake angle is much more than that of positive rake. Wherever we require tool to have additional strength, wherever the tool requires to cut material having higher like which are difficult to cut, I should put it in that way, which are difficult to cut, which require higher strength of the tool for cutting purpose, we generally use negative rake angle tool. Zero rake angle we will be using where we are not sure about the work tool combination, not very sure about the work tool combination, and positive rake angle we will be using where we are going to machine very softer grade of material, not very soft, softer grade of comparatively softer materials. Again say that if any doubt remains, you may contact me, or otherwise we will be meeting over Google Meet during our class schedules. We may very easily like discuss about our doubts over there. Okay, now milling cutter nomenclature. From a single point turning tool cutter SPTT nomenclature, we have identified rake angle or rake face, need of rake face, and clearance angle and need of clearance angles. Okay, and also I have told you that this multi-point cutting tools are nothing but the like the repetition of the single point cutting tool. Okay, now in milling cutter, one by one, this is the pitch of the teeth, like it is the distance between the first and the second teeth, radial distance. Then depth of the tooth, this is from the start to the end of the cutting tool. This is the land. What is land? As I will be showing you later. Okay, then is the primary clearance angle. We already know about the importance of providing clearance angle. This is the secondary clearance angle, this one. Okay, then this is the keyway used to mount the cutter onto the arbor. This is the hole diameter. face of the tooth. This is the face of the tooth. Then have I missed something? Yeah, this is the rake angle. This one. Whenever at 1 second, whenever we get a whenever we will be getting a cutting chip, it will be getting removed and it will get load like this. Okay, so this is the cutting. This will, I have already told that chips flows on the surface on which the chip flows is the rake surface. So as this is the chip, is it flows on this surface. This is the land of the this is the rake face or rake angle of the cutting tool. Similarly, for this teeth over here, it will be something like this. It will be something like this. The chip will flow on the rake face. So this is the rake face, the angle which the rake face makes with the pi r, that is the reference plane, is known as the rake angle. Okay. Then there is the outer diameter, and there is the back portion is the heel of the milling cutter. Now talking about this principal clearance angle and secondary clearance angle. I don't have proper tools to draw, but I'll try. Let us draw a okay. For example, let us draw a single teeth. We know that the chip will flow over this surface. So this is the rake face, and the angle between the rake face and the pi r plane, it is your gamma or rake angle. Second, we never should make a cutting tool which will have a very sharp edge. We may lose the edge very easily, as the stress concentration at the edge of the cutting tool will be very high. This can be very easily compared to the whenever you sharpen a pencil with a very sharp nose, the nose of the tip of the pencil breaks away very easily. Okay, so we don't make cutting tools very sharp. In order to avoid that, a very small clearance angle is provided here. This angle, this is your primary clearance angle. Okay, then again there is secondary clearance angle, which is given in order to avoid the relative interaction. This is secondary clearance angle. I am very sorry for the quality of the drawing which I have produced. Please don't produce this quality of drawing ever. Okay. What happened? Yeah. Now we know about the milling cutter diameter. Now coming on to twist drill nomenclature. The twist drill which we have over here is, this is the functional length from this point to this point. This functional length is further divided into shank length. This portion is known as the shank of the tool. Then this portion is known as the neck of the tool. This portion is known as the neck of the tool. Then again this is the flute length. This is the flute length, and the tip, it is known as the flank of the cutting tool. of the drill. Okay. Now the other nomenclatures include, this the clearance angle, which you may see. Clearance angle is nothing but to avoid rubbing between the machine surface and the flank surface of the tool. Okay. In the tip of the tool we will be finding a chisel edge. This is the chisel edge. If we magnify it, we will be able to see, I think. See, this line over here is the chisel edge of the cutting tool. Okay, chisel edge is provided for smooth cutting in a drill. Why smooth cutting? We know that cutting velocity is equal to pi dn by 60. If the point or the starting point in any drill bit is having zero radius, then from the cutting velocity equation we get, if d is equal to 0, then cutting velocity, that is pi dn by 60, d is equal to 0, so vc is also equal to 0. If no cutting velocity is there, thus cutting won't initiate, and even if initiates, what it will do, it will not be very straight, it will incline a little, and then with the minimum amount of length which it has obtained, cutting will start. But in that case, the problem is that we don't get, or we won't get, a very accurate drill. So in order to avoid that, chisel edge has been given onto the tip of the drill. Okay, this is the central axis. This is the clearance, body clearance. This is the land. Land is nothing but the starting point of the cutting edge to the end of the this portion. Okay. Now then, coming on to orthogonal and oblique cutting. Now what is orthogonal and oblique cutting? Orthogonal cutting is a type of cutting in which the cutting tool is perpendicular to the direction of tool motion. In this cutting, the flow of chip is perpendicular to cutting edge. The tool has lesser cutting life in this type of cutting. What we said, that the cutting tool is perpendicular to the direction of the tool motion. The cutting tool is perpendicular to the direction of the tool motion. If this is the direction of the tool motion, the cutting tool is perpendicular to that. Okay, or the cutting edge is perpendicular to that. This is known as your, let us show you by a drawing. If this is your cutting motion, your cutting edge is perpendicular to the cutting motion. Okay. Whenever it is not perpendicular to the cutting motion, it is inclined in any way. It is inclined in any way. This angle of inclination is not 90 degree. Then the cutting is known as oblique cutting. Okay. The main difference between orthogonal and oblique cutting is that in orthogonal cutting, cutting edge of the tool is perpendicular to the direction of motion, but in oblique cutting, the cutting edge makes an angle with the direction of motion. We will be discussing about this in later part of our course. After you learn a bit of the geometry of the cutting tool in details, we will be again revisiting this orthogonal and oblique cutting section. Now let us see a video in order to understand it a bit better. Now see, in this cutting operation, if the tool moves in this direction, cutting will be performed, and whenever the tool is moving in this direction, the tool moves in this direction and the cutting edge is perpendicular to the, if this is the direction of the movement, then this is the direction, the direction of the cutting edge. These are mutually perpendicular, so we call it as orthogonal cutting. See, this is the direction of motion along the axis of the shaft, and the cutting tool is parallel to this Fy. Yeah, the cutting edge is parallel to this Fy, and the cutting motion is along Fx direction, so it is orthogonal cutting. Okay. Similarly, see this. The cutting tool is at an angle with the direction of cutting motion, so it is known as oblique cutting. I think orthogonal and oblique cutting, you have understood this, so we may end lecture 1. Please go through the lecture and make notes of it, the questions which you have. We will then meet in the classes, on the online classes through Google Meet. You will be given the links, then we may again clear the doubts of each and everyone. Okay, now let us end the lecture. Thank you all.